Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frasier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.
Good evening and welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. I'm your host, Andrew Frasier, and excited to be here once again on Tuesday evening to hang out with you, talking about my favorite topic, small business. As you know, sometimes I could be known as the small business finance evangelist because I have to basically spread the good news about finance and how important it is. So that's really what our show is going to be about, helping you to understand finance a little bit better, helping you to understand as a business owner some of your responsibilities, but also, how to what you should do in certain situations. And my guest here, Jeneen Perkins. We've been chatting, and I think we're going to have some eye-opening things that can help you, no matter what type of business you're in, what size business you're in, and we'll take it from there. Hey, Jeneen, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, Andrew. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know we got you in just before your real busy season because tax returns are starting, and I guess don't stop for a while. So
right
to take advantage of this timing. And before we get started, it would be great if you could share a little bit about yourself, talk a little bit about your journey. How did you get to where you are, and what are you doing now?
Well, I created Eclat Enterprises as a part-time job for myself. I was a CPA hopeful in grad school with a full-time job and a part-time job. And I was kind of helping people on the side for free anyway. So I created a business for myself back in 2011 just to fill my passions and also pay for a couple of vacations, but it just grew organically by word of mouth and referrals from friends and family members. And in 2012, I was laid off from my job. And as I was applying for new jobs, full-time jobs at that, I kept running into the issue of being overqualified because of those graduate studies. So I started networking, and networking just worked out better for me over the few years after 2012. And I just stuck with entrepreneurship. And I also filled the gaps with temp work and project work in between. And here we are in the 14th year of the business and looking to grow to even greater heights.
Excellent. So you're kind of like the accidental entrepreneur.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to be the one that had multiple streams of income with, the corporate job. I was looking for one that I can retire, that whole, adage from, the baby boomers, like, you get a job, you work it, you get your pension, then you retire. Well, I wanted to do some other stuff. Well, I guess the divine plan said, nope, you have to go down this rough path for an unspecified amount of time. So.
Okay, excellent. So, you've been doing this for 10 plus years. You've probably worked with hundreds, if not, more than 1,000 business owners, like I have as well, and seen a whole bunch of different situations.
Yeah.
So definitely want to get into them, and definitely invite the audience to tune in as well. But before we get started, I just want to share a little bit about the show, the Small Business Pro University. We do this as a brain trust initiative out of the university, and our focus is really this year. My goal is to help entrepreneurs and business owners make this their best year ever by selling more, maximizing profit, and financing growth. So that's really where we are and what we want to do, and appreciate everybody tuning in, and look forward to having a great conversation tonight. So let me share a little bit about the university, a short video, and then I'll be back talking small business. Jeneen Perkins. Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded Small Business Pro University to help you break that cycle by empowering you with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead your organization more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I've collaborated with organizations like the Small Business Development Center, Rising Tide Capital, Empower the Village, NJMEP, Rutgers University, and SCORE to work one-on-one with over 1,000 business owners and teach tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a naval officer, managing businesses, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation, which has prepared me to accomplish my mission of helping 1,000,008 business owners to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth by 2028. My vision is to create the ultimate business ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. We employ my proven proprietary Masterpreneur Playbook framework to guide your journey along the Masterpreneur path and facilitate your Masterpreneur evolution to work on your business and scale faster and easier. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include the Small Business Pro Network, 100 plus expert-led multimedia courses, intensive training workshops, Spanish language training, Leadership Live at 8:05 live stream and podcast, in-person Power Breakfast events, and advisory coaching, consulting, and training services. All right, good evening. Welcome back. I'm here with Jeneen Perkins, talking small business. Our topic today is Financial Management Triage for entrepreneurs. So, triage, for those of you who weren't in the military, I don't know what that means, but out on the battlefield, you gotta basically take care of get people stabilized as quickly as possible, and take care of the people who, in an order of, priority based on their situation. So that's what we're going to talk about today, financial management triage. But before we do that, what is financial management? A lot of people, for a small business, for a business, what does financial management mean, Jeneen? What should they be thinking about when we say financial management?
Financial management means a variety of things. The first key thing you want to focus on is establishing one, how your business or your organization, or even you if you're a solopreneur, creates revenue in the marketplace. That's the first key. And then the second piece immediate after that is identifying what costs go into making every single dollar in your business. So the overall arching of the financial management, recording information, revenue, expenses, and then reporting that internally and externally, and then also reviewing, revising, and adapting that whole system to basically report to what we call stakeholders and third parties, so banks, the governments, creditors, and sometimes investors. If you're, a company going up for an IPO or even a privately held company, it really all entails of tracking and documenting how money moves through your business.
Excellent. So, okay, so it's really important to understand how money moves through your business for a number of reasons. What are some of the key reasons, Jeneen?
Some of the key reasons. I'm sorry. I think.
Some key reasons why we need to track where money.
Oh, one. I mean, with the governments, particularly the IRS, substantiation is the key to what most folks call a write-off, right? So if you can provide a absolute and concrete reason why an expense is necessary for your business to make money, that's key. And the key, and the best way to substantiate any expense is documentation. So not just receipts, invoices, bills of lading, purchasing, and all of that, but also that comes down to your business plan. That comes down to your tax plan with your professional CPA or a CFA like you. It also comes down to the overall operational goals of the business and how it all aligns. So, for instance, if me as an accountant say, oh, I want to spend $3,000 going to Maui, well, the IRS is going to ask, what did you do that was business related in Maui? Did you go to a conference? Did you keep the agenda? Did you track what you spent on meals, travels, and things of that nature to substantiate me being over in Maui? And that's just being, fictitious there. But often we live in a time where we are seeing a lot of video snippets of folks saying, oh, you can fund your vacation and write it off. No, there's some other nuances there that you have to be mindful of and be tactful when you're making plans like that with your business funds and your overall operations.
Okay, so very important to substantiate what you got. You talked about the business plan and planning. I say it. Everybody knows fail to plan is planning to fail.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd still say more than half the people I meet with don't have a business plan, and to their detriment. And even the ones that have one, it's not current. It doesn't have any numbers in it,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So you're already putting yourself in a bad situation or at a disadvantage of where you would have been if you had the plan. So what is the cornerstone of financial management? What's the first key thing that you have to do if you're going to do your financial management right as a small business owner?
One, the very first thing you have to do is establish a reporting system. If you're starting out very small, people love good old Excel, updated version, Smart Sheets, Google Sheets, something like that. But I always tell my newer folks dipping their big toe in the entrepreneurial pool that you have to research and find out what else is out there. The old adage is out there, there's nothing new under the sun. So you're not really doing something new. Somebody else has tried what you've done and either failed or succeeded at it. So it's great to learn both perspectives, and then also implement some of the things they implemented because it worked or it didn't work for a variety of reasons. So getting organizing those startup costs and keeping track of that. So I always recommend using a cloud accounting platform, whether it's QuickBooks Online, Wave, FreshBooks, something. There are hundreds or maybe even thousands. It's probably thousands of software out there that fits your particular needs. You don't have to go with the most popular, but you do need something to keep you in the routine of maintaining your finances on a regular basis.
Okay. So, it all begins with your bank account and your bookkeeping system.
Yep, the cornerstone.
So those are the cornerstones, and setting up a bank account that's only for business.
Correct.
And setting up your bookkeeping so you're keeping track of the information you need.
Yes.
So now, when you have a bank account, what should go in and out of it, and how should you handle money going in and out of your bank account to make it easier to do bookkeeping?
Right. So what you should do as far as money going in, it should be money from in the very beginning, but it really only comes from maybe three different sources. The first source is your client, new clients, existing clients, customers, whatever you want to call them. You're invoicing them. If you're brick and mortar and you have a register, they're paying you on the spot. And then sometimes you need influxes of cash of either your own capital or a lender's money. Those usually are the three primary sources of income or of deposits or influx into that bank account. And you have to document and categorize every single line item, because that ultimately impacts the taxability of your business at the end of the period, whether it's fiscal or calendar year. Then only business expenses are really supposed to come out of there. Now, naturally, when you're starting out, especially like a single member LLC or even a sole prop, it's easy to say, oh, well, I'm just going to take this money and move it. That's fine. I prefer that you move it out into a personal account, but using that business account for personal expenses is a huge red flag. It actually gets to the point where you may cause an audit because you accidentally used the business account for a huge personal expense, and it throws off all of your financial reporting for the year. And I've seen that happen quite a many of times.
Okay. So should people do their own bookkeeping? And as you grow, how should your financial management practices and change over time?
So you can most certainly start off doing it on your own, especially in the startup phases. My recommendation is always talk to someone like me. There are thousands of accountants like myself. We all have a variety range of knowledge. So my recommendation is to at least talk to an accountant, bookkeeper, CPA, CFO, somebody to say, hey, am I at least doing this right? We are more than willing to take the time, especially myself, coming from a former SCORE mentor. I'm more willing to teach you how to do it yourself if you cannot find a way to afford the services. But the main key is that as you grow, and if you're not even able to do it once a week, and by do it, I mean recategorize your transactions, match up your income, the deposits to an invoice and customer payments, that you should consider outsourcing to a professional, because 9 times out of 10, we're going to do it quicker and faster than you. And we're also going to basically shore up your money. So creditors, the government look at professional that is has the expertise, has the education, and just quite frankly understand the lingo of doing it as a, a extra gold star in your business. Like you're not doing it, but you also took the time to invest in the resources to invest in having a professional um, verify the money, how the money's flowing through your business. So as your business grow, you should be focusing more on getting more income in the door, doing what you do best for the business, and letting professionals and other folks, if you have employees, hiring people to specialize in certain areas. And accounting and financial management is one of those cornerstones that often have to be given turn the reins over to you so you can focus on other areas of business.
Okay, excellent. So, definitely you're recommending getting help,
Yeah,
but not every time help is actually help, and sometimes it's hurt, um, because more often than not, you know, many business owners don't feel good about their bookkeeper and or their accountant.
that's
Um,
true.
so, but many times they don't leave them, and many times they choose them for the wrong reasons.
Hmm.
Uh, what should someone, if they're looking for a bookkeeper, how can they know that they're getting someone good, and same as an accountant?
Good. So one of the key things I always tell someone to ask is one, do you feel like you're talking to an actual human being? Sometimes us accountants get caught up in acronyms and jargon and all of that. Do you find that the accountant, bookkeeper, CPA, or whoever you're speaking with actually understands the questions and your design, the needs that you have, and are they fulfilling them? I always recommend doing an initial consultation with the professional just to find out one, um, who's going to be doing the work. Is it you or someone else working for you? Do you outsource? Two, what's your background like? Where did do you have certain certifications? Are you part of any professional organizations? And then also ask, what software do they primarily work in? That's always a key factor. And then also, how do they work in sharing documents with you, communicating with you, what are expectations they have as far as receiving documents from you. All of that really comes down to how all those answers to those questions, should spark a gut feeling in you, whether or not this is a great fit. Recommendations always come well, but then that professional should be able to give you some references from existing clients as well, so you can get another perspective. And then also too, LinkedIn is great for testimonials for back in the day, but also check their website for testimonials, check the social media. Just do a good old Google search to see how they're faring in the market, in the marketplace. And for taxes for individuals, I back in the day used to use Thumbtack and get a lot of good reviews there. Um, so there's ways to vet an accountant, and then also too, if you Google what questions to ask an accountant, you will find, I think, at least 50 questions. So pick the ones that you understand and just go in with some of those questions, as well as questions that pertain to your personal situation, but not too in depth. So if you want to know how can you minimize your tax impact, your tax bill as a service provider, write it down, make it industry specific. And then if you like the answer, you can compare with other accounts. I recommend you talk to at least 3 people in the industry to get a fair way.
All right, so definitely vetting it, and actually references are really powerful, and a lot of times we overlook them. I've been bitten for not checking references, and finding out things after the fact that I could have found out earlier. So, and that's in hiring and everything.
Exactly.
So,
hmm And me as a new entrepreneur, it was not until I was after my first big whale of a client, where I had to submit an RFP. There were like references. I'm like, oh my goodness! So I had to scramble and find real quick. But it worked. So I just update that every year just to have on hand. Because you're right,
excellent.
it's just like a job application for an individual. You need those, and same with the hiring process. A lot of employers vet people before they even offer them a position. You should do the same with your accountant.
Definitely, definitely. So now, conventional wisdom is that every business owner needs a CPA.
Mhm.
I don't really subscribe to that, but how do you feel about that? Do you agree, or what is your thoughts on every business owner needing a CPA? Because that's what a lot of people say to people coming into business.
Well, it really depends on your comfort level. CPAs tend to have a pricier price tag, a higher price tag, sorry, but they do have the education. They went the extra steps for the licensure and the commitment. But what I found out when I was originally applying to CPA positions and over a decade ago, and also when I was doing my market research and networking, is that sometimes CPAs firms are actually too big for a startup and too big for that solopreneur. So finding a reputable accountant, even an EA, and an EA stands for enrolled agent, which is like the IRS equivalent of the CPA. You can find someone that can help you organize your books, help you properly prepare your tax return at different variety of levels of price points. Now, what I always recommend is fact checking even the CPA, because we all do different things. So no one does the same exact thing in every firm, every business in the accounting industry. So CPAs are great at what they do, but CPAs are typically used for publicly held firms, larger companies um, that have to report to regulatory bodies. Most small businesses do not fall under that purview. We mostly file taxes for the IRS and the states rather that we operate in, and it doesn't necessarily require all that. So if you're not looking for investors, if you're not looking for, if you're nonprofit, large sums of foundation grants and things like that, I wouldn't recommend you doing a CPA right away. That's something you grow into, that type of level of expertise.
Okay, definitely great points. CPAs are valuable for what their expertise is, but they're not the end all be all. And for many earlier stage businesses, they're not really a good solution. Like you said, they're very expensive. They might be $400 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, but also their expertise is with larger companies. Until you're at a certain size, they can't really do much for you. But they might not tell you that. Uh, so because they're a company too, and they want to do business. Uh,
Exactly.
and usually it's not a good place to get your bookkeeping done either, because that's not really what they do. So
Right. If you're not grossing at least $2 million, I would say don't even bother going to a CPA firm, because they're going to tell you you're not really our market type. If for any reason that you feel like, oh, I have to CPA, then you're going to have to pay that cost. And my estate attorney years ago told me either you're going to pay them now or later. Like, either way. So, and it goes to everybody in our industry, even you, Andrew, as a
Mhm.
CFO. If you come back around, as you know, you circle a prospect and like, oh, I met this person 18 months ago and they want to have a meeting now. Well, it was something 6 months prior to that first meeting that they left out. Now it's just ballooned out of control. And it's the same thing with the CPA, but CPAs are good for representation. And by that mean is, arguing basically with the governments. They're giving that that gold star status in front of the IRS instead saying, hey, they can go to court. That's what I would say you would use a CPA firm for, to fight. But preparing for that fight will be costly if you don't have your financial management foundation laid. So,
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So, definitely, like we said, there's different levels, but, I was in the Navy, and, my XO on the ship used to always say, when things were messed up, he'd say, we're doing it to ourselves. And many small business owners are doing it to themselves in that, I found their greatest fear is numbers and analysis. And what should you know about finance, accounting, and bookkeeping as a small business owner? Because if you don't know anything, then it's real easy for people to not give you what you should because you don't know the difference. What's the minimum?
the yeah, the bare minimum of what you should know for your business is really how your business make money, that price point, that hourly charge, whatever it is. You have to understand, you have to know how business come into your business. Then immediate after that, you need to identify if one product, whether there's one contract, when there's one project, you need to understand all the costs associated with that, to generate that revenue, and that helps determine what we call your gross margin, and all those costs associated to making them, and it's called your cost of goods sold, or cost of production if you're manufacturing to that extent. At least bare minimum understanding that's the minimum. Okay, because from there you can have enough to say, okay, for every dollar I make, it costs me 35 cents. Or if for some reason, oh, you can at least start from there. You can make a repeatable pattern for yourself to make your first 1,000, your first 10,000, or 100,000, or wherever your goal is. But if you don't understand that at the bare minimum, that's gonna tank your business in the first 12 months. And then within that same 12 months, you need to understand what I call regulatory costs, i.e., taxes. So sales tax, as well as local county tax, state tax, and federal taxes that impact that has to be paid if your business is profitable. And then some taxes, like sales taxes, are called basically a custodial tax. You have to pay that whether you make a profit or not. You have to collect it from the customer or client and remit that on a regular basis, regardless of your cash flow, regardless of, if say, if the only time you don't have to remit it if you do not make one sale, essentially.
Okay. All right. So no sales, or some things aren't taxable.
Yeah.
So, but definitely sales tax and employee taxes, payroll taxes
Mm-hmm.
will get you messed up worse and faster than any other type of taxes
Yeah.
because the government considers it their money and not yours ever. So,
Yeah.
so excellent. So I'm going to take a break real quick now, share a few things, and then we're going to come back and we're going to really get into the fun stuff, which is, triage situations and how you deal with them. But we wanted to at least give everybody a base, knowledge and understanding so that you'll get more out of and better understand what we're going into. And definitely, I see a lot of questions in the chat. We're going to get to those. So definitely excited about that. But before we do that, let me just share a few things. Number one, if you're not on our mailing list or on our LinkedIn channel or LinkedIn newsletter, you probably want to be, because what we have every week is the plan of the week, or the POW. And what we do in the POW is really put together and lay out, what events, activities, and learning opportunities that are available for entrepreneurs and business owners. So definitely, if you want to join the POW, that's another way that you can make sure that you're planning and doing important things as we go. Also, next Wednesday, we're going to be doing our masterclass, Business Planning Made Easy, 2 p.m. in the Eastern time via Zoom. So definitely, you're welcome to register for that. I'll put the link in the chat. And in addition, I want you to save the date. We've been doing events for entrepreneurs and business owners, the Power Breakfast. Our next one is March 21st. It's in New Jersey, in Kenilworth at the Galloping Hills Golf Course. So definitely, if you're around, definitely worth checking out. And here's a quick video just to give you an idea what the Power Breakfast is all about. If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences.
My name is Andrew Frasier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frasier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
All right, welcome back to Leadership Live. I'm here with Jeneen Perkins, talking small business. We're going to talk about financial management triage for entrepreneurs. So Jeneen, you see all types of challenges that businesses have financially. What is the most common challenge or issue that you run into?
With companies, it seems like the smaller they are, the messier they are. A lot of commingling of personal funds and expenses with the business, lack of documentation of expenses, and revenue. That's a growing concern, especially since 2020 of mine, that people are making money, but they don't have no real basically outline of how the person paid them and for what. Also, not having an official bank account has been on the rise. But the other key thing that I notice, even when people say, let's say I use QuickBooks or I use FreshBooks, and I do my bookkeeping myself, and I look at it and no bank reconciliations have been done. There are negative numbers where they should not be. And when I ask, well, can you explain to me what this expense is for? Do you have documentation for that? They just look at me like a deer in headlights. And that's usually an indicator okay, they're just going through the motions of believing that they're practicing good financial management. So even in the first consultation, I try to leave the person with at least 2 good tips so they don't keep repeating the same process, and then recommend solutions that me and my team can implement for them.
All right. So, definitely you don't want to fool yourself into thinking you're better than you are. Um, and, but I'm sure you've also seen some really challenging situations that people have come in with. What are some of the most challenging situations that you've come across?
One of the most challenging situation, and it seems to repeat itself every couple years, is that I need a entrepreneur small business that's been operating for like 2 or 3 years and they've never filed a tax return and they're trying to get some lending and they don't have a scrap of financial management, system in place. So in the past and in the present, we've done what we call the triage accounting services, where we're restoring and verifying income and expenses for 1 or 2 or more years. In those situations, we are doing things in a short turnaround because they always need it done yesterday, last month, last year, right? And from there, we usually uncover some things where people were miscategorizing income, thinking things are expenses when they are not. The biggest problem that we've seen in the last, I want to say 2 years, is that when people are putting personal assets into the business and not properly identifying them, like for instance, if it's a home-based business, used to having an office or private home for business purposes, personal and business mixed-use vehicles, for instance. I met someone recently that their CPA, they're a fractional CFO, and the CPA was recommending to the business that they buy a new vehicle every year just to max out the Section 179. And it's just like, that's a gross misuse of cash. There's a variety of ways to reuse, maximize that use of cash other than putting it into vehicles. So, to date, the biggest financial mess that we cleaned up was 2 years for a service-based business. The service was in light trucking, and we had to verify the first year, which the person completed themselves, and reestablish and reconstruct the second year within 90 days. And we were able to do that, I believe, in about 70 or so.
Okay. No, definitely. I've seen some. I think, one of the worst ones I've seen is, I think they hadn't done taxes for more than 5 years, and they had no bookkeeping records. And I was like, well, how did you ever file taxes? And he was like, well, we just go to the accountant and tell him stuff, and he just files the taxes. And I was like, So, it's very important because, when you're dealing with taxes, you're going to be responsible for the situation, not the person that helped you.
Exactly. And that's a gross misconception in my industry. As tax preparer, we, have P10s and we sign the bottom of the return. We list, who worked on the company and everything. But ultimately, it's still whoever's name at the top of the return is responsible. Even if you're like in that situation you just described, if someone's just sitting down doing a conversational return, as I call it, and you are relying on the person to remember, or hopefully they're taking notes or recording the conversation so they have documentation in some kind of format that created your return. Otherwise, it's just basically, a bunch of mumbo jumbo on some forms, to say the least.
So definitely, that's key. So let's take a look at some of these questions. We've got So one was the most common mistake, which we sort of covered. Um, you know, what about you know, what about taxes and cash flow? And actually, we didn't really even talk about cash flow yet, but it's an important concept. So maybe if you could start with what cash flow is, and then, a little bit about balancing cash flow and taxes.
Okay. So I'll start with the technical answer first and then get into the real life answer. Cash flow is the tracking how money moves through your business or organization. So we start with the operating pieces of money coming in from clients, payments from, providing goods and services. And then we move into how the money is then used after that, paying vendors, borrowing, and all of that. Cash flow is one of the the statements of cash flow is one of the underutilized financial statements because most people don't know how to understand it. So the real life answer I usually provide to people I'm meeting for the first time, or if I'm doing a presentation in a different format than this, is that the cash flow is showing literally how money moves through your business, how it comes through from the outside world, how it survives inside the business, and then how it goes out in form of taxes to the government. So one of the tips that I always give single member LLCs, solopreneurs, and then some S corps that have one or two shareholder employees is that for every dollar that you make, depending on the state, you need to save at least 20% for taxes. And this coincides with a lot of school of thoughts as far as financial management, like Profit First, and a couple others. But I always recommend a bare minimum of 20% be put aside for taxes, just so you're not caught holding the whole bag at the end of the filing period, whatever that may be for you, whether it's fiscal or calendar.
All right. So definitely important to do that. So now, we basically talked about challenges business owners have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Great question. How how often should a business have a financial checkup? What should that be, and who should do it?
So the minimum I always recommend is at least 4 times a year, but it really does depend on the seasonality of your business or the business cycle. So every business have waves where they have large surpluses of cash, unless you, I don't know, maybe a bank. I think they're the only ones that have a consistent, or a utility company, something that's used regularly on a regular basis. But the financial checkup should be done with another professional, sorry, that is either an accountant, a CFO like Andrew. I call myself a fractional controller like me, someone like me. Bookkeepers can help with the financial checkup, making sure everything is basically reconciled and nothing is quote unquote out of place. And with that financial checkup really entails is making sure that your overall revenue matches the number of invoices that were issued for a given period. It's easy to break things down in quarters, but if you are really in a like a scrap for cash, a minimum once a month, because that's how you're going to identify where your money is going very quickly. And then also too, when you're working with that professional, you should express some concerns and bring up any questions that you have during that meeting, so you can identify things that they can help you keep watch of, or give you tips and suggestions on how to curtail or monitor certain items within your profit and loss or your balance sheet.
Okay, great. So now got a question of, what's the best way to address long-standing tax problems? But, the ultimately the best way is to avoid them, because a stitch in time saves nine, and sometimes even more than nine. But once you have them,
Mm-hmm.
what should you do? How do you triage that?
So the first thing you should do is not ignore the problem. I think that's the first solution that people generate in their own minds without getting advice from any outside party. You should address it head on. You should be diligent in your communications with the governing body that is saying, "Hey, this amount is due to us, and we need retribution." So that's usually a payment plan. But then also you have to create a plan to avoid being in that situation ever again. So what you stated about tax avoidance, that is a very legal thing to do. What gets people in problems with long-standing tax is tax evasion. So you cannot evade taxes. Evade taxes is purposely trying to understate or avoid, skirt the tax liability. The tax avoidance is minimizing the impact of that liability, not to the point that is manageable. But all that comes from substantiating your expenses and things of that nature. Keeping proper documentations for mileage and board meetings and a variety of non-financial things can impact your overall tax liability. So that's something that I've been repeating or being a broken record about since 2011. And it's just every year I meet someone who just says, "Hey, I do not understand how I got in this problem. I don't understand it." And it's just like, well, what you don't know is what you don't know. But being ignorant to tax laws is not an excuse. They want an actionable plan in place so they can collect the funds.
Okay. So now, if you don't have good bookkeeping, you kind of don't really know what's going on with your business.
Mm-hmm.
And, all the things that you think are true might be true because you don't have any facts. So usually I look at it as, before you can do anything, you got to have some facts to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really doing the bookkeeping and getting your bookkeeping up to snuff.
Correct.
What's the second thing that people should do once you have your bookkeeping up to snuff? What comes next?
Making sure your financial statements reflect your overall operational goals or revenue goals. That's the second thing, because once you get the bookkeeping done and maintaining that, you just have this data that provides no insight, doesn't provide any motivation, or doesn't even prove any theories, right? So once you have everything basically up to par in the books, you should be understanding how that information is looked at from an outsider's point of view. So you can understand whether or not you have a viable business or not. And once you have that coincides with that whole business plan deal, whether or not you're making your dreams come true for some folks, to be honest with you.
Okay. And you mentioned financial statements.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really talk that much about them, but what are they? What are the important ones, and why are they important?
So the big three of the financial statements, everyone knows the profit and loss, or it's also called an income statement, depending on what industry you're in or type of organization. It could vary in names, but overall, the profit loss is the one that people tend to focus on the most. It shows whether or not your business is profitable or not. The second one is the balance sheet. It shows what the company owns, in assets, and the assets are things that help you make money, how much cash the business has, and bank accounts, savings, CDs, anything what we call liquid. And then also what the company owes out to creditors, to shareholders, and then also how much has the original founders, owners put into the business is reflected on the balance sheet as well. And as mentioned before, that statement of cash flow shows how the business actually used the liquid funds reflected on the balance sheet, how it's used to operate the business in a specified period of time. So it's often looked at on a monthly basis. However, it's like I said before, it's underutilized because it shows how the business operates on, it shows where the business operates on its own ingenuity and revenue and sales capability versus living off of borrowed funds from investors and creditors and the like.
Okay, excellent. So, your financial statements are critical. So one, it's important to know the top three.
Mm-hmm.
Your balance sheet and your cash flow statement. Now, what I find is, in that order, the likelihood of them being accurate. So P&Ls are more likely to be accurate than all of them.
Yeah.
Look at those. Next is a balance sheet, but they're usually wrong because nobody really looks at them. And a lot of times, if someone's just a bookkeeper, they may not really understand. They understand how to put things in QuickBooks, but not how to make sure the balance sheet's right in addition to the income statement. And then the cash flow statement is 90% of the time wrong, even though, even if you have a good accountant. And I don't know why that is, but, but it's important to sort of understand that and, make your accountant go through your financial statements with you.
And to add to your point, I think the reason why some balance sheets and things are wrong, because I've had this in the past too, that sometimes a customer doesn't want to pay for having all those correct, right? So they just worried about tax prep because they need 2 years or 3 years of XYZ to qualify for this or that. Okay, cool. And they're asking you in mid-March for this. That I've been in that situation a variety of times. But one of the other pieces of the financial statement, I call it the big three, but is really the forgotten fourth, is your budget, which really comes from your business plan. You need to understand that budget before even touching the other three. And that's usually overlooked. But sometimes you have to reverse engineer people thinking about their own business. And it takes a very extensive amount of time to change what's between someone's ears about their own thing that they created, right? So particularly the smaller the business, the messier the books. That's my experience. But then also when you're teaching, trying to impart in them, okay, so what's your budget? Did you plan for this? And they're like, what? I'm like, okay, now we have to go back to the very beginning and work back through this. So it's usually talking about how do they make money every day, and then they start to understand and the light bulb starts to come on. So, but yeah, that budget actually needs to become before the profit and loss, because like you said, the other ones won't be correct.
Right. And, that takes us back to failing to plan is planning to fail.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a plan, you're not going to have a budget, because that's what you do your plan to develop. So, we've covered a whole bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more that we could cover, but an hour is just not long enough.
Right.
But, hopefully people are taking away at least some valuable pieces, some nuggets that at least you may not fully understand it, but you need to know more about it. But before we leave, I always ask the guests to really share 3 key things that everybody should take away from our conversation tonight, so that at a minimum they have 3 things to focus on and also most people can't remember more than 3 things. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't overload their brains and make them explode. So we just want to give them 3 things to focus on, starting tomorrow and then, coming back. So I'm going to give you a minute to sort of think about that. And, while you're thinking about that, I'm just going to put on a video about, some valuable tools that we have for entrepreneurs and business owners through Small Business Pro University. Ever wonder why some businesses succeed while other ones flounder or just plain fail? It's all about having a solid game plan, knowing what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, because your business can only go as far as you're prepared to take. How can you acquire the knowledge, the skills, and perspective that you need to succeed? What if you could learn the secret sauce in a matter of hours from the comfort of your own home or office? Now you can. I'm Andrew Frasier. I've written a series of books outlining my proven proprietary Masterpreneur Playbook framework that has helped more than 1,000 business owners to succeed. By reading the handbook and completing the workbook exercises chapter by chapter, you will actively learn how to become more effective at sales, marketing, financial management, operations, and more. Then, the playbook will guide you through the critical stages of business development and personal evolution necessary to work on your business and scale it successfully. As a result, you'll create a sustainable business that can run successfully without you. Here's what others are saying about my methods.
Andrew's books are outstanding. They're easy to read. They're interesting to read, and they will take you every step of the way from startup to scaling if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to put in the time.
Good practical information that is good for both entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs. Andrew breaks it down in a very understandable way.
He's been helping me with my financials, making sure everything's together, what's working versus what's not working in my business, so that I'm working on my business and not in my business, period.
If you want to work on your business and scale successfully, you need my Masterpreneur combo, the handbook, the workbook, and the playbook. Act now to take advantage of a special offer for my Masterpreneur combo and save over 25%. I'll also sign and ship all 3 books for free. This is a limited time offer that can only be accessed using the direct link below, www.sbprou.com/combo. Get your Masterpreneur combo today. Once again, that's www.sbprou.com/combo. Okay, excellent. So, Jeneen, we covered a lot. What are the top 3 things that people should take away from our discussion?
One, the first important is that you have to substantiate to alleviate your tax burden. So keep track of how your money is being spent for the business as well as is coming in. Document. And one of the things I always say is, organize and digitize. If you think you cannot keep up with paper, take a picture, upload it somewhere to a cloud drive of some kind. The second thing I always tell people, if you see negative numbers in your financial statements anywhere, get help. Just get help, because it's beyond that scope of your knowledge now, that you need to get a professional in there, someone with some experience to fix it. Okay. And then the last thing is that you have to strategize and plan. So that business plan and that budget is always going to be a linchpin in your business success. Even though I'm an accountant, I force myself to do it. Sometimes I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. And then, making sure that you're living up to those expectations that you set for yourself as well as your business. So those are my 3 takeaways.
Okay, excellent. So really, you need to get organized and document things. And, if you can't do it, you can get some help doing it. Number two, if something's not looking right and you don't know what it is, then don't just leave it messed up. Find someone to help you, because the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to be, the more time it's going to take, and the more problems it's going to create. So address things sooner rather than later. And then, take some time to step back so that you can plan and strategize. So, I was with a client today, and they're just running from one project to the other, and they're like, I wish we could plan and strategize. So but you have to be intentional about it, and that's key. So no, this is great, Jeneen. I know you shared a lot of things that are going to be valuable for people, and at least giving people some insight into some of the problems they could run into, some of the things that they should look at doing if they run into these problems, and really how to grow and evolve as a business owner. Every business owner has a journey, and a very important part of the journey is your knowledge and growth and knowledge and education. And most business owners shy away from the financial education, but that becomes the most important education once you've figured out the sales and market, the product market fit, and you can sell enough, then
Right.
management becomes very important from the profitability and leadership and managing your organization successfully. So excellent. So definitely, if you want to connect with Jeneen, she and it's weird saying Jeneen because my sister's name's Jeneen. So but I guess there have to be more Jeneens in the world.
Yeah. There's a bunch of us in the world.
Yeah. So but definitely, if you want to connect with Jeneen, in the chat you've got her LinkedIn profile, so you can connect with her that way. If you want to learn a little bit more about what she does through her business, you got her website in there, and definitely encourage you to do that if you need help. So Jeneen, thanks again for being on the show. Hang out a little bit, and we can chat a minute as I close things out.
All right. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay. Another great show. Really enjoyed having Jeneen on. She's very knowledgeable and shared things that could be very valuable. So, as part of your journey, it's important to develop your financial skills and your financial knowledge. One, to make sure that your financials are being done right. But eventually, if you're going to grow successfully, you're going to have to run your business by the numbers, and you have to understand the numbers. So definitely, start your education now. And one good way to start it is actually 2 weeks from tomorrow. I'm going to lead a webinar for the Women's Business Center on basic financial management for small business owners. It's free, and you're welcome to sign up. And even though it's the Women's Center, they don't kick men out of the webinar. So you're welcome to join even if you aren't a woman. So I've got that link in the chat as well. And definitely appreciate everybody's comments, everybody's feedback. Keep it coming. Questions. And next week we got a great show as well. Next week we're going to talk about the biggest marketing risk is not taking enough risk. So sometimes risk is not doing something, but or doing something that you shouldn't do. But also your risk can be not doing something that you should do. So we're going to talk about that, especially from the marketing side as business owners, because that's, a lot of business owners, have challenges with their marketing. So, I've got Jeremy LeDuc, and, we're going to be talking about that next week on Leadership Live at 8:05. So just, as a business owner, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business will grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.